Welcome to the Horse Speak Book Club. I'm Laura Wilsey, taking you on a journey through the Horse Speak Trilogy. The Horse Speak team is dedicated to giving horses a voice and being their well-deserved advocates. We provide evidence-based knowledge based on intrinsic, observable, and repeatable body language skills. We offer online learning courses, in person clinics, as well as a weekly video club where we also meet on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we analyze our members' videos from herd dynamics to riding. If you're interested in learning more, please check out our website at horsespeakacademy.com. And just so you know, this is a judgment-free zone, and everyone here has a varied horsemanship background, and we ask you help keep the environment safe so no one feels shamed in any way. All right, let's begin. We are starting on page 147, and we are going to be talking about who's driving anyway. Watch one horse move another one off a pile of hay. Once the sending horse has done this, he doesn't keep asking for the pile of hay. He has done what he needs to do. The mistake people make with horses is we often keep pushing and repeating our cues, verbal and nonverbal, while the horse is moving. We know horses send each other away all the time. The horse that's been sent away often hangs out on the outer edge of the sending horse's bubble. These bubbles of personal space can be different, expanding and contracting depending on the situation and dynamic of the relationship. Here's how a horse stops sending. He stops his language cues, turns his face or flank away, and aw shucks, and perhaps some breath messages, or directs his core energy in front of the other horse and returns to outer and inner zero. Here's what the sent horse does. He moves in an arc around the sending horse and might even complete the circle, returning to his starting point. He often turns to face or look at the sending horse to make sure the conversation is over. As you apply what you already know of horse speak to driving conversations, the way both you and your horse think about leading, lunging, and round penning will change forever. In these conversations, you will learn to pose questions such as, how do you feel about my sending you with your hip drive button, your girth button, or your go away face button, also known as the cheek button? You will ask your horse to yield space related to the bubble in gradually increasing moments. You will assess how the horse answers each time, and therefore your response can be accurate before you ask for anything further. In horse speak, we will pose these types of questions in 3 settings. The reason is that our horses will have a different response to the pressure of our presence in each scenario. The first scenario is with the horse on the equivalent of a lunge line, which we discuss in this chapter. Next, a similar conversational template is applied with the horse at liberty inside a pen or paddock while you are outside it. And the third setting is with both you and your horse at liberty together inside the pen or paddock. We discussed these 2 scenarios in chapter 11. Horses view us as external members of their herd. This means conversations about movement in horse speak will make sense to them. It is now time to learn to move your horse in more significant ways, the same way another horse would. Conversation on the lunge line. At this stage, lunging conversations are all about finding clarity in your own intensity levels rather than getting the horse to do something. It is your opportunity to learn to be clear in how you ask the horse to move as well as stop. Our usual confusing messages cause horses to resent activities like being lunged, a useful tool that is too often misunderstood and misused. Fearful or resistant horses need this lunging conversation to be slow and methodical to undo whatever negative experiences occurred in the past, while making your horse feel safe and encouraging him to become curious on the lunge line. Before you begin your lunging conversation, take all the time you need to make sure your horse is acquainted with the whip. Understanding your whip or crop. The whip or crop you use for your first lunge line conversations is basically an extension of your pointing finger. There are 3 positions by which to hold the whip. Position 1 is walking stick. One end of the whip is anchored to the ground as it would be if you were using it like a walking stick. This prevents aimless wiggling of the whip, which only confuses the horse. This is also the position used when showing outer 0. Position 2, sword. In sword position, hold the whip perpendicular to your body with straightened arms, aiming at a button on the horse. Position 3, baton. With the baton, hold the whip down the handle and parallel to the ground. This position makes it possible to use either end to point at a button at the front, middle, or back of the horse. And I didn't get our audio people ready. So just a second, I apologize. So Danuta, you are up next.
Conversation greeting your horse with the whip. Keep what you learned during the greeting ritual in your mind as you first approach your horse with the whip. Let him sniff the handle first, as if it was your hand extended, knuckles up. When your horse is showing signs that he is not afraid of the whip, scratch him with the thick handle end, using an up and down motion on the neck near the mane where he might enjoy it. Present the handle to his nostrils again, encouraging the horse to sniff it. You might even scratch around the edge of his nostrils with it, or bend over and take sniffs of the handle yourself. When your horse is still fearful of the whip, practice approach and retreat to help your horse begin to trust what can be a scary object. The ultimate goal is to be able to rub every inch of your horse with the whip and have him feel at ease. Conversation practice with the whip. Hold the whip or crop in walking stick position, ready to be engaged at any time. When you're not using the whip, it should be in a low dragging position behind you. Avoid aimless wiggling, as the horse will assume you're saying something. Try level 1 intensity. Point the whip at a button on the horse with the intention, the equivalent of a small X. Now take it up to level 2 intensity. Make a motion with the whip as an indicator, or a tickle touch can be used here as well. Add vocal motivation, such as a kissing sound. Think medium X. At level 3, you are making a larger X. Use the whips to scoop up energy from the ground towards a button. Include a light touch or tap and vocal sound as needed. At level 4, slap the ground with the whip and stand in a jumping jack, big X position, holding the whip as an extension of one arm. Just like with the other conversations and skills we've discussed, it is important to remain at inner 0 at all times. When we need to raise our intensity, sometimes emotions or overzealousness will come up. And if you feel anxious or frustrated, for example, your horse will know right away.
Thank you. Isis?
Conversation forward on the lunge. Lunging is actually asking a horse to move along the edge of your bubble of personal space. Start with your horse only 3 to 5 feet away, knowing your arms and core energy will have the same conversation as in dancer's arms. Angle your core energy towards the horse's shoulder button. This slight sending pressure acts to keep the horse on the edge of your bubble. Your leading or target hand is the one closest to the horse's head. It holds the 8 to 10 foot lead rope. Sharon teaches students to begin with a long lead rope rather than a lunge line to reduce stress on both you and your horse. Handling a full lunge line and lunge whip is cumbersome. Right now, you need to be able to quickly change the conversation if your horse is reactive. Your other hand holds a short whip or crop as an extension of your pointer finger. This hand also holds the extra length of lead rope. Holding inner 0 and dancer's arms, point the crop at the hip drive button with a level 1 or 2 intensity. You've just asked, may I move you forward using your hip drive button? When you begin, you're trying to build confidence in your horse. With this in mind, place yourself on the side that he finds most comfortable. Once he's thinking well, move to his other side. There is no mystery to creating acceptance, and this whole conversation allows you to practice talking to the buttons as well as using all the other tools of horse speak. There can be no wrong answer from the horse. He might turn the canoe facing you as his mother taught him to do, or he might not understand what you are asking. Some horses may not trust you to drive them or may be nervous about being driven forward. If you feel threatened, keep the horse's face away by directing the whip or crop at his go away face button. Be aware your horse might answer you either by standing immobile with ears back, hard eyes, or tight lips, or by moving around you in a chaotic or frantic way. No matter what he does, your reply should be the same. Drop all cues and take the pressure off with aw shucks and breathing. This tells him you're saying, okay, no problem, thanks for answering me. As soon as his reply changes, reward him no matter what he does to get him to think. Reply back in a way you know he likes, whether it's breathing with him, scratching him with the whip handle, or doing rock the baby on his withers or halter. As we learn horse speak, we must always allow space for the learning curve for both ourselves and our horses. See if your horse can move 1 or 2 steps, pause and go to 0, and repeat 3 times in a row, rewarding each time you drop your cues and stop asking, no matter what his answer is. Your goal? You're initiating a discussion, one that introduces the possibility that he will become open, interested, and curious about moving around the edge of your bubble of personal space. In horse speak, when one horse asks another to move off, it's not uncommon for the driven horse to feel grumpy or defensive about it. You want to transform this conversation from one where your horse feels scolded and sent away to one of playfulness and curiosity. When his curiosity is engaged, this conversation will become full of possibilities for you both. Do I keep going, or was that it for me, Laura?
You can keep going if you just read
Okay.
the next, till drop
Got
it,
it.
stop it, that's fine.
Okay, next conversation, trace my bubble. Once your horse is willing to take just 2 steps while you're in dancer's arms in lunge position, you can expand your bubble of personal space and lengthen the line. Allow more rope to flow out and indicate that your bubble has expanded by pointing the whip at your horse's girth button, shoulder button, mid-neck button, or go-away face button, depending on what your horse responds to best. Let the line out in measures, but not so far that you and your horse can't hear each other anymore. Place the whip against your belly button to make sure your core energy is aiming at the girth button, so the circle you want your horse to travel is clear. Flick the point of the whip between the girth and the hip drive buttons. You want the horse's answer, whenever you ask, to be, sure, I'd love to move off upon your request. This will happen if you keep asking for forward and then stopping repeatedly until he gets to a place where he realizes all you want is for him to walk and halt on the edge of your bubble. Keep this from becoming drilling by frequently rewarding the horse. With repetition of ask for forward, stop, and reward, your horse will realize this is all he needs to do. You may feel like an orchestra conductor, but as soon as your horse takes 2 steps, drop it to stop it, placing your whip in walking stick with the end dragging, go up to him and reward both of you.
Thank you. Alexis?
Drop it to stop it. In most of the conversations so far, you have been using stomp to a stop. Now you can graduate to a movement I call drop it to stop it. Before trying this on the lunge circle, practice while reviewing a previous conversation, such as matching steps. When you ask your horse to stop, stomp to a stop, but add a sitting down motion in your pelvis. By adding this body language, you are no longer talking to his forehand, you're now including the horse's pelvis. You are telling him to stop through his whole body. Note, do not stop him until he has walked a half circle around you. Most horses want to quit halfway around because when they are moving around another horse, it usually only takes an arc to readjust their positioning. At half a circle, drop it to stop it, and make an O with your body, drawing the rope backward toward you. Encourage the horse to, at the very least, look at you. You can also allow him to walk calmly backward to you if he shows back toward you if he shows interest. Go to him and groom or breathe with him as a reward. Repeat the half circle followed by reward and praise 3 times. Tell him how wonderful he is. Turn previous training into thoughtful conversation. Sorry, the dog has a squeaky toy.
No worries.
By now, your horse understands that this is not his normal lunging routine. He is probably starting to get the concepts of moving forward and drop it to stop it. He appreciates having a chance to think and be rewarded with a scratch, perhaps rock the baby on the halter, and some praise. He's becoming curious about and invested in this conversation. Horses will not make other horses do a complete circle around them, but as we touched on back on page 147, often scent horses will complete circles on their own. In addition, any horse trained to lunge, and this is many a horse since lunging is so often used in early training, knows you want him to do a whole circle around you. All you need to do now is turn previous training into thoughtful conversation. Conversation, completing the circle. From your dancer's arms position, ask your horse to move out on the lead rope. Stop using the whip the moment he moves. Park it so it trails down behind you on the ground. To keep the momentum going without using the whip, march in place as if you were matching steps. Keep your X position and dancer's arms at the right level of intensity for your horse. Once one full circle is complete, stomp your feet and use your O posture and drop it to stop it. Praise your horse for a job well done. Repeat this conversation 3 times to ensure your horse understands. Remember, a handy way to make nice round circles is to place the handle of the whip against your belly button and aim the tip at the horse's girth button. This ensures you are not making an oval or aiming your core energy in front of the horse, which would tell the horse to stop and go at the same time. Being mindful of where your belly button is pointing will bring all your lunging conversations to a whole new level. Conversation, changing direction. Once your horse walks calmly in full circles in one direction and you can halt him with an O posture and drop it to stop it, take 3 steps backward and reverse his direction. Beckon him toward you with your O posture. As he nears, switch your whip and rope to opposite hands and ask the opposite go away face button to turn and go in the other direction. Aim your belly button and core energy in front of your horse's chest to block his forward movement. This is how an alpha horse can tell another horse to leave, stop, or change direction. Note, you may want to practice switching your rope and whip hands a few times without your horse, as it takes some coordination to master. Adding obstacles. Horses enjoy lunging while weaving between cones, around barrels, and over ground poles at the walk. Incorporating obstacles helps refine your X and O postures, depending on the sensitivity of your horse. They also give you something more to talk about than just the lunge line. You need to use the whip and the buttons to ask his face to turn and look in the direction of specific objects, to ask his front feet to move toward, over, and around. It's necessary to manage your core energy to ask him to step sideways, and your hand holding the lead rope must become steady to target for his eye to follow. Practice bringing your hand toward your belly button to ask his face to turn to you, or lift your target hand higher to ask him to move toward an obstacle. Stepping up the pace. Horses run in a herd. Sometimes this is when there's dangerous predator around, or perhaps when they are being chased by bugs. Sometimes they're simply playing up, kicking their heels and running for the fun of it. For us to ask them to move faster, we must disassociate acceleration from why they might run away from something. You don't ever want the horse to feel chased by you. The first time you begin to ask for increased speed on the lunge circle, he may believe you're telling him there's something to run away from, not, hey, let's move out a bit for fun.
Thank you. Perfect. As we're reading here, we're going to stop here and we'll begin next time and finish up the chapter. Um, there's a lot to go over in these 10 pages that we just read together. And I think one of the key notes that was just read is something we need to make sure of that we are not doing when we're lunging. You don't ever want the horse to feel chased by you. The first time you begin to ask for increased speed on the lunge circle, he may believe you are telling him something, telling him there is something to run away from, not let's move out a bit for fun. So we have a webinar actually that's called Power of the Patterns. And one of the things as we have enhanced the understanding of the language of horse speak and now horses are talking with us and for us, and how they utilize the term the chessboard, which is basically horses don't horses don't play chess, but they do move in particular ways in any environment that they are in. So I don't play chess, but I do have a vague understanding of the different players on the board. And the queen can do amazing things forward, backward, left, and right, diagonal or something, and then there's pawns. And so there's different characters on the board who are able to do certain things. So similarly with a horse herd and the roles in the herd, each horse is going to navigate on the chessboard differently. And why am I saying this? I am saying this because when we are lunging a horse, we are the one in the middle. And typically, when a horse is a protector, they are on the outside, and the weaker ones are in the middle. Like the babies, for example, would be more in the middle of the herd, protected by mothers, teachers, and elders, etc. So therefore, when you are doing, thank you for the link is in the chat. So if you are lunging, we need to make sure that we have set up our chessboard appropriately. And you can do that by checking out this. The third book talks about it a little bit, but the Power of the Patterns really brings in the specifics of how different things on the working space, cones, how the cones are placed, creates a safety net for them, so to speak, so that they are not the one on the outside. Just short little cones that are barely a foot tall can help a horse feel that they are enclosed in an environment. And with that being said, please have any conversation in the chat and also raise your virtual hand if you would like me to call on you if you have any questions or comments about what we just read. So it's from that perspective, if your horse is looking out to the outside on a lunge line, this is one of the key note body language things that the horse is saying, I'm not feeling safe, because they're looking at the outside. We want them to be on a nice arc and moving in toward us slightly, not moving in, but the bend on the circle is facing us, not on a counter bend to the outside. So also with lunging, the other keynote thing that was just read is on page 157 also is you may want to practice switching your rope and whip hands a few times without a horse, as it takes some coordination to master. And so this is very important when we are doing any kind of new skill with a horse. Some horses, just like people, everyone has their own personality. Some horses can tolerate, they have a good window of tolerance to be able to navigate your learning curve. Some horses are like, no way, no thank you. Can I deal with you fumbling the lead rope and dropping the whip and doing all these things, getting out of position? And that is one of the other part about lunging that is so crucial, is that we can, in a split second, be out of position. We can either be driving them by accident harder because we fell behind the girth line, or we're in front of the girth line and we are stopping the forward movement. So these factors, like this is an advanced skill. And so doing 3 to 5 steps or doing a half a circle, staying in the lineup with our belly button at the girth, being able to ask the buttons to do different things, because lunging is about helping a horse have better balance. And this is also a repetitive motion activity. So if lunging is done well, it's a great thing to help them engage their buttons in a different way. Sit to jump up, please, through the wither, and let's go into follow me. Let's have some nice, like, we're really helping them engage their buttons for better self-carriage. That is really the goal, to be able to move well in their body, like an athlete. That's why, different sports have different physical activities that they practice without the ball, so the body is agile to be able to navigate the activities that they're doing. Similarly with horses, this is what we're doing with them. And with that being said, if we're lunging a horse on a repetitive circle over and over and over again, and maybe the horse isn't comfortable going in the opposite direction, then we're overworking those muscles in those joints. And especially if they're counterbent, then they're doing this activity in bad form. So, with that being said, practicing this, filming yourself, seeing what's happening, and being in it with joy and exploration, instead of like, come on, horse, we got to lunge this circle. It's supposed to be a beautiful thing together, and not like something that's penalizing, or it's like, I have to lunge my horse every day. This is like the activity we're doing. Okay. Because it is precision. It's so much precision for us to learn, and it's precision to help them. If we don't know what we're looking at in regards to having a horse imbalance, then this activity might be a little bit above where we are in this moment in our horsemanship journey. So that's just the thing. It's like there's no judgment. This is a judgment-free judgment-free zone. But it's just important to know that this activity can, in long run, not done well, it can cause injuries to our horse by accident if we're not aware. So, this activity, there's so much. If you look back in the old masters, this is an activity where people the trainers have been practicing this for years and years and years to master it. And a lot of times there was a second person on the ground to be the ground support. So then the person was acting like the cone. So there was the person lunging and then the trainer. So the horse was inside of the circle of the trainer. So with that being said, thank you, PJ. This is a really great webinar talking about the power of the patterns, understanding how equines use their environment to talk about safety and problem solving their environment. Yes, absolutely. It's a great webinar. And it was filmed during a time in which we had moved our farm. And so our horses were like, I don't really like the indoor arena. And so you can see the patterns that I built each webinar that we produced on the progression also of helping them feel safe in the environment. So Danuta, I see you have your hand up. So please, let's hear from you. Oh, thank you for the chats. I see those. We'll get to those after.
Hi. I was like looking at this. I was really interesting because on the very first page that you read, it says, here's what the scent horse does. He moves in an arc around the sending horse and might even complete a circle, returning to his starting point. He often turns to face and look at the sending horse to make sure the conversation is over. So I've been practicing the halt with Beth, and so I've been practicing it on the greyhounds first. So
I love that.
going out on the walk. So working out what my fingers are doing, like the piano fingers, and like my feet are doing, so they're coordinated.
Yeah.
And I've been trying this with Beth, and she very often goes round in like a semicircle and turns to face me rather than stopping next to me.
Hmm. Okay.
Although she did stop next to me today because I was using both reins. But like if I've only got the lead rope, she often just sort of turns and faces me. Why would she be doing that?
Okay. So without seeing it specifically, so this is just trying to get your picture into my head. Because we do, and I'm just going to say this to the public. When we are taking questions about a specific thing a horse is doing, we love seeing video because there's so many variables that can come into this kind of situation. So one thing would be, so you're not, how long is your rope? I'm just wondering.
Well, sometimes I don't have a rope. I just like stomp to stop
Okay.
and do it at liberty. I mean, she'll always stop,
Hmm.
but
Well, she's
she won't.
really turning to check in with you
Mhm.
would be one thing. And you could, depending on how your hands are, you could be beckoning her in also.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
if we're in O posture, then if we're dropping it to stop, kind of like the picture wherever it was in the book here with Gretchen. Let's see. It's an exaggerated picture on 155 in figure A. But that is an O beckoning posture that's we're stopping here. So and like it said in the book that they'll stop and face you, and depending, and that is a thing in other training modalities that's what they train the horse to do, is to turn and face upon
Okay.
stopping.
She wouldn't have been because we've had her since like
Okay.
birth.
Yeah. So that's kind of
So
a
I think,
natural, like,
yeah,
oh, you want us to stop? And she's just like checking in with you from a distance.
okay, that's cute. I mean,
Yeah.
she's very close to me, like, so
Yeah.
she's right next to me, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's really cute. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And then again, it can be maybe your left, if she's on your right hand side. So maybe your left hand is doing a little beckoning or something, your shoulders are dropped. So then she is coming in to your personal space and wanting to, like, how did we do, mom?
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah, probably because she's very, very much like that.
Mm,
Yeah, okay, cool.
cool. Well, thank you so much, Danuta. It's nice to hear your
Thank
voice
you.
today, and thank you for reading. And I love your question.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay, I'm going to read these chats. Let's see, just a second. I want this to be, just give me one technical moment. My chats are not really where I want them. Okay. So, lunging well done is to use the buttons to communicate through body language to coach the horse and help him or her to find balance in their bodies to create physical and therefore emotional balance. Perfect, PJ. Thank you for bringing that in such an eloquent way. Yes, because that is the ultimate goal, is to be able to have the buttons all working together, all stitched together, and that we are moving, we as the horse team, that the horse is moving in all parts well. That it's interesting to see sometimes a horse being ridden, not necessarily on the lunge line, and see kind of like there's three sections of the horse, and you can see that they're not all working in one unit. And that's really the goal of lunging, is to be able to help the horse move well, to in one working unit from nose to tail, from all the way down to the ting point in their hind feet. So it's really important that we are seeing the horse and how they're moving. And that's why it's really important to film yourself to see what the horse is doing, because there's so much to watch from nose to tail. And that's as part of learning horse speak. And the video club is a great way to practice over and over and over again, watching the exact and specific things that we're looking at. Because, we can, because our eye has been so, and especially Sharon, her eye is just so fine-tuned. She can watch a blurry video and be like, well, it's this, and this, but without really taking apart these videos, your eye is trying to focus on 100 different things. But when you start being able to kind of see, okay, I'm seeing the nose to like the shoulder, and then the girth area, the barrel, and then the hind end, and you can pull all the different moving pieces together. We have been able to help a lot of people see different things that are physically going on for their horse, because that's what we're looking for, is these minute micro movements that are positive, absolutely. And sometimes we can also see, oh yes, there's could be a possible injury in that location, because we're just, this is what we do. We analyze micro movements. So I'm going to get back to seeing another chat. Alexis, thank you. Thank you. I just had two aha moments. My young mule does a half circle chaotic movement around me after we close the gate, and I'm thinking about walking her. I think I know where this is going. Out into the yard. I knew it was something I was doing or not doing, but I've had such mixed results and hadn't solved the issue. I think dancer's arms, clarity, and keeping me out of, and keeping me not, just a second, and keeping me not driving because I'm out of position after she comes around me. There's a lot going on with positions, communication, messages. Yes. Back to building understanding between us without the challenge of the gate and new chessboard, so we understand the movement together. Yes, I love this aha moment. Absolutely. The scent horse bullet got my attention to Danuta. That's happening in my scenario. Right. So, excuse me. So, yeah, you're having a lot of variables going on here when you're going into a new chessboard. She's the one going into the chessboard first. There's no one protecting her on the other side. You're messing around with the gate. So then you're having split attention. And when we are working with horses or any equine that has a little bit of a hesitant nature, they're going to be more exact and specific on what they need. And these transitions, when it's like, okay, I'm just thinking I'm walking through a gate and we're going to make a turn and shut in the gate. But to the equine, there's a whole story, a whole situation that is playing a role in their response. So that's really cool that you had that realization. And dancer's arms, yeah, that's, closing gates is tough because you are needing to close the gate. So you only have two hands. One is holding the horse and one is messing around with the gate. You have to turn your back to the horse, things of that nature. And so it's just like, this is a moment too when you could practice. Let's stay at girth together. Follow me, girth. Let's stay, I've got you. Follow me, girth. Maybe a little jump up. This might be a little vulnerable. And in your mind's eye, you could even imagine that, we're in a protective bubble and that your energy, we're energetic beings just as they are, that you have her surrounded in your energetic bubble. So that could be something that you could explore too, but getting into the specifics of, we're girthing through this gate. I've got you. Let's feel good with her, and try to stay in the center of her body as best as you can. Finagling the gate could be something that be interesting. And so it is about safety. It's safety in transitions. Every single environment is a new experience for them. And let's see. If you're not already a member of the herd, saunter over to horsepeakacademy.com for the club. Yes, it's $30 a month. It's the best deal on the planet. 2 sessions each Tuesday, all recorded, where you can send in your videos for Sharon and myself to decode and translate and bring equines together with their people. And that's what we do every week, is help people and equines have a better rapport, build trust, build safety. And it's almost 5 years that we've been doing this club. So therefore you have access to all of those meetings. So there's never a dull moment. And you can also be in the evolution. You can see the evolution of where we came from with this book, with step one, and then to where we are with Essential Horse Speak. This one, we're going to read that soon because we're almost done with this book. And then we're going to read Horses in Translation, and then we're going to read Essential. And so that'll be really great. And I do plan on circling back around and reading again. I think that the more we hear the foundational things, the more this sinks in. This is a journey. This is a language journey, just as if we were learning a foreign language. Us folks, a lot of us in the United States are monolingual. And so we haven't had the experience of being fluent in a second language, much like, folks over in Europe. Most people speak English, so we can get away with not speaking German or Dutch. So with that being said, we are learning the language of another species, which is so amazing. Because when you can really see exact and specific things that the horses are doing, it blows our mind all the time, honestly, on what horses want to talk about. It's absolutely stunning. I do too, but I think I get behind the girth. Yes, this could be the thing, because then you're accidentally driving her forward. And so then she might scoot, because I know we watched her on the video club last week or the week before and saw how she was scooting with their hind end for whatever which reasons, at the fence line there. She was just like a lot of tension in the butt. So I know with Lacey, my mule, she's definitely like mindful of her hind end, and whether it's hormonal or if it is environmental or if it's from past experiences, they have this scooting way about them. And it happens with Lacey also through the gates too. So, it's staying at girth. It would be really interesting to see if there is a little bit of a difference. Let's see. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Yes, that's why it's beautiful to be in a group like this, because we can support each other. Everyone is in a learning curve and trying to work with a different horse, different horses. And yeah, everyone has these different struggles. We're not alone, and I'm not above anything either. We have these 4 new equines and they're all totally different. And they all have totally different needs. So it's just, it's horses and humans. We're trying to figure everything out and get along well and, stay safe. When I close the gate, I ask the horse to continue to walk around me as I turn around, so the horse is also facing the gate. My focus is on the turn rather than the gate. That's really nice. Yeah. And you can also try, because we're navigating the horse on an arc. And especially, there's other variables too. If we're going into a place where there's other horses, so, a gate transition can have so many different things going on. And so then you can also try, if you're having one hand with the lead rope, the other hand is available for the gate or to talk to buttons, but having your rope hand higher, like in the eye level, and having a scoop that can also is kind of creating a merry-go-round pony. So then you're creating a bigger arc to open up your shoulder so that their shoulder will open and go around you also. Because again, just like lunging, just regular leading can accidentally knock a horse off balance or bring them too close to your body, things of that nature. So it's something to play with when we're, navigating a gate. Do we need to have our hand high to guide around, or even maybe a little lower if we need to do an inside turn? So if we're going to do an outside turn, arcing, so my horse is on the outside of me, I can raise my hand higher. But if I need the horse to go inside, I'm going to have my hand lower and maybe with a little bit of a scoop to have them move their hip. Because if we're scooping, if you feel it in your body, this is like a normal lead hand, and then you go scoop. You can even see the subtlety of how I'm engaging this is my left side. My hip is going in, and then my ribs are coming in also. So play around with this. It's similar when we're messing around with the whip, okay? Because each whip position is giving a different message. And again, with whip skills, I'm going to just circle back around to something that we read today. There's two things really. One thing is getting good at your positioning, walking stick, sword, and baton, which is gone over at page 149, and making sure that when we are not activating anything and we are neutral, we have our whip in walking stick. So then we're grounding out that energy. We're just walking along here because we can get so wiggly with a stick in our hand, and we can use a crop or a whip, or just go to your local tree and say, "Hey, tree, can I have a stick or something on the ground?" Like, we don't need to buy, any kind of whip or anything, like any kind of object to help your pointy finger be longer. Even if you had a pencil, you could also do that. So just being familiar. Also, it mentions in the book to have an 8 to 10 foot lead rope instead of using these huge long lunge lines. If you're new to lunging, there's so much to manage. Again, if you can practice these skills without the horse and fumble around, step on your lead rope, trip over it, do all that stuff before getting with your horse, then you will have more success, most likely, because your learning curve has been done without messing with the energy of the situation you are with your horse. Again, not tripping over your lead rope is so important, or lunge line. When we're teaching horse speak and our lead rope skills or lunging skills, we do not like people to have, for safety, the lead rope just fumbling around on the ground. There's other folks out there who are teaching just let it fall. We don't want to worry about it, things, but stuff happens, y'all. So we, want to make sure that you stay safe, and practicing coiling our lead rope, and even to the point of how you coil your lead rope or your lunge line is giving a message. So that's why having slow movements when you're coiling up your rope, and trying never to twist the rope around your hand, things of that nature. The other part that I wanted to bring in here is on page 151, with practicing the whip. And the thing is, about most of the time, you won't have to go to a phase 4. If you're in the right position and you have the energy up, and you have the thing that I want you to look at, also is it this page? Just a second. There was this really nice photo. I think it's the next one. With Gretchen asking for movement. Yes. So if you go to 154 and you look at these figures here, especially in figure B, where she has the crop out of her belly button to keep her lined up with the girth. And then, so that's her right hand. And then the left hand has the door open and has the palm open, like as if go to a restaurant and the hostess is like, "Right this way, please." And so that the door is open, her core is on the girth, and she's not blocking the forward movement. Okay, so this is really important. And you can see what it looks like. She went back in figure C. She's more back toward the hip in the jump up area. And so if we are asking for a little bit more energy, this makes sure that, one, you're not in the kick zone, safety, and two, just make sure you're sparkling. We talked about this last week, energy up, not down. Okay. If we're on the lunge, we're doing a little half circle or a full circle, and we're sparkling up, kissing, not if you want to do that at home, try it out and do a body scan and feel the difference between kissing forward, sparkling forward, or like that. For me in my body scan, when I do this, I feel it in my belly. I get really tight and it doesn't feel good. It feels like down energy. It feels punishing. So, some of us may have these different body habits. And it'll be this cool to explore the two things, especially if it's been kissing hasn't been your way of activating movement. It could be something really neat for you to play with. And that's really one of the things that I love about Horse Speak is that we are say, here's a bunch of things, go try something with your horse. Because again, this is a language, but we talk about it in the third book about the bell curve. And each horse is on the bell curve of like whatever normal means. And then we have outgoing and we have aggressive, we have hesitant. So we have all different variables within the bell curve. And the same for us. We all have our way that is our normal. And then we have our way, whether we're, too much O or we're too much X, or we get angry or we get frozen, so we have different variables too. And so then the cool thing is that we can throw something out at you. It's like throwing a dart at the dartboard and be like, hey, try. Usually we can give someone 3 things to try and see what combo works for them and their horse. And so I feel like it's one of the neat things that we can offer. And again, if we're not seeing stuff on a video, then we are shooting a dart at a situation. So let's see, I underlined this other thing. I'm going to check the chat also. Let's see. I'm exactly 4 years behind on the old videos. Danuta, thank you. I love that you're looking at the old videos because it's amazing. And if you are on the club, you can do Horse Speak featured videos in the search, and then you can look at any of the videos that Sharon and I have posted, whether we had a club meeting or not. We did a lot of teaching opportunities. We haven't done too much of that recently, but we were sharing a video pretty regularly. I think it was more toward before we did the 2 sessions, because we did start with just the 1 p.m. session Eastern time and then have evolved into the 2 sessions. So let's see. Yes to repetition. Why am I not reading? A dojo. Thank you. Sensei used to say he was going to tell me 1,000 times, and each time I learned something. Yes, it is. This is a spiral. It's a spiral of learning with Horse Speak. It's amazing. Even with different horses, the problems are similar. Yes, right? The problems are similar and the solutions might be totally different. So let's see. Your goal with this, you are initiating a discussion, one that introduces the possibility that he will become open, interested, and curious about moving around the edge of your bubble of personal space. In horse speak, when one horse asks another to move off, it is not uncommon for the driven horse to feel grumpy or defensive about it. You want to transform this conversation from one where your horse feels scolded and sent away to one of playfulness and curiosity. When his curiosity is engaged, this conversation will become full of possibilities for you both. So on that note, I'm going to wind down our meeting today. So thank you for being here and taking time out of your busy life to share space with the Horse Speak community today. And we here with Horse Speak want to give you the gift that horses gave to Sharon, which is the exact and specific nuances of how our body language can communicate clearly with horses. And all we need to do is take the time to learn how. So Visit our website if you would like to learn more at horsespeakacademy.com for in-person and online learning opportunities. May you enjoy the journey of learning horse speak and having fun while doing so. Thank you so much for being here. And we will see you same time, same place next week. And I'm just going to close out. I love that. I'm going to say it or do 1,000 times. So true. Boy, do I learn something each time I'm out with a horse doing anything. All right. Be well. Yes, Danuta, we'll see you in the morning or the evening. And yes, bring a friend to a book club. Create a practice partner. On that note, be well, take care, and I love you very much. Till next time, y'all.